Now, for the information of all hands.
Welcome to episode 10 of the 1MC with Master Chief Jason Vanderhayden. I'm your guest host, Senior Chief Will Kelly, and today we'll be joined by the 32nd Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Fagan.
Thanks, Senior Chief. I appreciate it. We are honored to have our Vice Commandant, Admiral Linda Fagan, here today. And I tell you couldn't find a more competent, just great person to have on the podcast. Starting the new year, really excited to have Admiral Fagan with us. She has got some amazing credentials we could talk about. She's the Ancient Trident. She is the longest-serving and senior Marine Inspector of the Coast Guard. She is also our component acquisition executive. That means she's kind of in charge of everything that we acquire in the Coast Guard. We're going to talk a little bit about acquisitions with Admiral Fagan. And before that, she was the PAC area commander, so she got all that PAC area experience. And then she was the deputy commandant for operations for policy and capability, District 1 commander. And then before that, she served at NORTHCOM in a joint role where she was the deputy J3 at NORTHCOM, and just an amazing. And before that, sector commander for Sector New York, and she served on every continent, all 7 continents. Just an amazing breadth of experience for Admiral Fagan, and we are super excited to have you on the podcast today.
Hey, thanks, Master Chief. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation, and really thank you for letting me be your 10th guest on the 1MC podcast. So thanks for the great introduction. I don't know how I feel about the title Ancient Trident. I know that's not the purpose of today's discussion, but I don't feel ancient. I prefer seasoned.
Seasoned Trident.
Although my millennial children often point out to me that I probably am more ancient than they are. And as you pointed out, my first flag assignment is one of the J3 deputies at NORTHCOM. I went out there without any DoD experience and definitely get thrown into the deep end of the pool. I also swore that you would not find me tracking Santa with NORAD. However, I did both years I was out there. It was actually one of the more fun things that command does. But a great experience and opportunity.
You know, that is a neat opportunity to get on their website and follow Santa. Super cool. And I know you stood watch at NORAD tracking Santa one time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was kind of, you get like a little celebrity bump when you track Santa with NORAD. My kids had like great standing with their friends. They're like, "You track Santa?"
That's
awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Speaking of kids, so you have a lieutenant, Lieutenant Eileen Fagan, your daughter. She is in the Coast Guard doing amazing work at the Office of the Officer Personnel Management. And I have 2 kids in the Coast Guard, Tyler and Victoria. And I wanted to kind of dedicate this podcast to those like our kids who are hitting their stride in the organization and are curious about what's next. What can we look forward to for the next 5 to 10 years in the Coast Guard? And we'll talk about everything from acquisitions to different mission sets to things maybe we're not even thinking about right now, maybe some new initiatives, and we'll talk about probably one of the most important things we can talk about, which is the health and well-being of the workforce. So you are our component acquisition executive, which means you're in charge of all acquisitions. And, we are in the midst of our largest, recapitalization of our fleet, and there's and not just our surface fleet, but also our aviation fleet. We've got a lot going on. Can you talk a little bit about what we can look forward to in terms of our new assets that we're getting?
Yeah, hey, great question, Master Chief. And, as far as having kids in the Coast Guard, it's really cool to be a super proud parent. I know you are with yours. I am with my daughter. One of the things that it does for me is it orients me. It's not lost to me every day as senior leaders and what happens here in the headquarters building. We're making decisions, resourcing decisions, policy decisions, program decisions that are building our kids' Coast Guards, quite literally, right? So when you make a major acquisition decision to build and field new polar security cutters, that's a 75-year commitment. In fact, it could be our kids' Coast Guard that we're actually, working to resource and build today. I did not have an acquisition background before coming in as a vice commandant. I've done the training, which means I'm just smart enough to be dangerous. Lean heavily on our acquisition professionals here in the building, and the workforce should be confident. We've got some just great expertise that are helping us field these new assets. I mentioned the Polar Security Cutter, right? We just over the holidays awarded long lead time material for Polar Security Cutter 2, will be built at the yard in Halter. I am super excited about that. My first tour as an ensign was on the Polar Star. This is back in the mid '80s, and if I'm honest, Polar Star was in the midst of a midlife crisis when I was on it as an ensign, and she is down at the ice edge. I think she arrived yesterday. 37 miles of fast ice that Polar Star will break out to get the resupply into McMurdo. It's a Herculean task, and that ship and that crew get at it each and every year, and we can't field those Polar Security Cutters soon enough to help that resupply mission into Antarctica. And then, frankly, for our own national sovereignty as it pertains to the United States being an Arctic nation and operating up off the North Slope of Alaska. And so that particular acquisition is near and dear to my heart. I am really excited about seeing that ship start to come to fruition, and the team and workforce should be really excited about the opportunity to serve in the high latitudes.
That's awesome. So, and it's not just like the icebreakers, like Polar Star is a wonderful ship in there, but the new Polar Security Cutters, if you're a gunner's mate, you might have an opportunity to serve on a polar breaker. There's a lot of opportunities on the Polar Security Cutter for other ratings and maybe other officer specialties that maybe you didn't have, just because the mission's going to change slightly. I think we might have maybe even some ISs perhaps on the Polar Security Cutter. So
that's a great point, right? We're not calling it an icebreaker, and that's intentional.
Yeah.
It's a Polar Security Cutter that's going to be able to break ice and project our sovereignty into the high latitudes. It's be flight deck enabled ship, and absolutely will have a skiff with all of the national technical means to ensure that you've got kind of the eyes and ears that you need for operating in the high latitudes and projecting presence. We'll still have our search and rescue mission. There'll still be some science, but this is a kind of warship to the extent that you might call it that, comparable to the National Security Cutter, but actually able to break lots of ice. And oh, by the way, if you've never been on an icebreaker, it's actually really fun because you actually get to hit stuff and not get in trouble.
That's exciting. Well, then on top of that, we got the offshore patrol cutter and then the waterways commerce cutter. Being a river tender person myself, I'm really excited about that, and I know that's going to provide some opportunities for mixed gender crews and give a lot more people an opportunity to serve on a river tender doing a critically important mission, which is setting buoys that we oftentimes don't really think about. But the waterways commerce cutter is going to be exciting too. I think we're getting 30 to replace 33 or 35, something like that.
Yeah, so I don't have a note here on what the actual program of record. It's not a one-for-one. It'll be a slightly smaller number on the waterway commerce cutters. In spring of 2022, we will contract for the first several waterway commerce cutters, and they are the sooner we get them on the river and into the fleet, the better. I had an opportunity to visit a couple of the units on the rivers. Was in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. As,
Nice.
Master Chief Jones, who's the DCMS badge, has schooled me on Pine Bluff, which was his first tour in the Coast Guard. And the teams out there are doing incredible work. Morale was high, but boy, it's time to get some newer assets out into that critical mission as far as buoy tending goes. I did get to hook, snag, I don't have the right
Nice.
term of art, a buoy. They didn't let me hurt myself. It was a lot of fun though, and it's really critical work. And the fact that we're going to be able to have mixed gender crews and just really provide that opportunity to serve and lead and succeed for anybody that wants to go in that direction. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and then I know, forgive me, but I peeked at your calendar a little bit. I know you're going to head out, it looks like going to Bell Helicopter to talk to them about potential future vertical lift. But in the meantime, we've got, we're replacing our C-130Hs with C-130Js, which is an incredibly capable aircraft. We got the C-27s that we're getting missionized, and then talk to me what you think the future of our rotary wing fleet looks like.
All right, so we'll start with rotary wing, and then we'll come back to the HJ transition. So we are committed and working with the department to move us to a single rotary wing fleet, getting out of the business of operating 65s. They've been an incredible aircraft for us. They're aging. We've had gearbox challenges. We've worked through some of the parts challenges, but as a service, we are committed to accelerating into the 60 fleet with tailfold, bladefold. It will really be the vertical lift that we need for the foreseeable future as the Armies and others work through what future vertical lift really looks like. I'm excited about the 60s. They're incredible aircraft, and we'll move to field those sooner. When I think about how we are deploying ships, right, and so a piece of those 60s help support, shore-based search and rescue, but they also deploy on cutters, into the East Pac, into the Arctic, and so as we get a more capable helo on ships that are deploying into the high latitudes, into the Western Pacific, it'll just be that much more capability for us as we operate.
Nice. And you said you wanted to circle back
to
the
So
fixed wing.
For those of you that have not seen the C-130Js, from the exterior you think, oh, they kind of look the same. They are not the same aircraft. We're going to have a program record of 22 of the 130Js. They state-of-the-art avionics, all-glass cockpit. It's a 20% increase in speed and altitude, which is huge, and then a 40% increase in range. And so if you're, say, at Air Station Honolulu at Barbers Point, it's game-changing for the long-range search and rescue you find yourself doing in that part of the Pacific. We've transitioned both Kodiak and Elizabeth City, and we're working through Barbers Point. They took their first C-130J in June of 21, and they're just really capable aircrafts. And so, as I talk about, I'm excited about all of the ships that we're bringing on from an acquisition standpoint. I'm equally excited about what we're doing in the aviation community. There is a lot to be excited about for the future of the Coast Guard.
That's great. We need our aviators. That's awesome. So when we talk about all the different acquisitions that we're getting, those acquisitions that enable us and kind of provide an opportunity for us to maybe expand our mission sets. So, the Commandant says, the demand for Coast Guard services has never been higher, and I agree. And it seems to kind of grow each year when people find out how great our service is. They want more of the Coast Guard. What are some of the mission sets that are that might be growing a little bit, that we might do a little bit more of in the future that we're not doing right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Master Chief. Right, it is the era of the Coast Guard, without a doubt. We are a world leader in that domain. Our key partners look to us, look to emulate us. We certainly set the standard. Our racing stripe, as a model of good governance and humanitarian service and partnership, that will not diminish in the coming years. As the PAC area commander, we did some of those first deployments of the national security cutters over into the Western Pacific, where again, modeling good governance and partnership and engagement with a number of like-minded Coast Guards in the region, and frankly, the demand signal there is loud and growing louder. We really are a partner of choice for a number of those small island nations. Some of the incursions and activities by China Coast Guard, their military militia, just erode good governance, erode the rule of law, and create kind of existential threats for some of these small island nations. And we offer a good counter to that. I'm pretty excited about it. So I think the Western Pacific and Indo-PACOM will be a pretty steady demand signal. Resourcing is always the challenge for us, right? We run out of big ships before you meet everybody's demand signal. The other area where we've been investing from an international leadership role is in IUU fishing, and I think you will see that continue both with cutters that we deployed, say, off the Galapagos to help counter the Chinese squid fleet, and partner engagement from a leadership standpoint to helping nations and regions counter IUU fishing in their own regions. Those are just two of a handful of other areas that we've got going on.
We in cyber, I know we've been working. I think Congress has kind of given us a little bit of help in terms of building out our cyber capability. How do you see our role in cyber in the maritime I know it's not 100% clear because you got the CISA aspect of that, but is there anything we can, do you see that kind of, maintaining course and speed, or do you think we might have a greater role in the cyber maritime?
Yeah, so CISA, Critical Infrastructure Security Agency, it's a component within DHS. They really sort of have the focus on cybersecurity as it pertains to critical infrastructure. And there are a number of nodes within that, the maritime transportation system being one, pipelines, railroads. So specific to the maritime transportation system, we absolutely have a role. We have a leadership role, and we need to work with some urgency at ensuring that we are postured to exercise that leadership as it pertains to the industry. I know, in the 5P world of work, Rear Admiral Mauger, they are working hard at what does this workforce look like? How do we have the right authorities and structures in place to engage with the maritime industry? The great news is we have those partnerships with the industry already. It's a trust relationships. We're starting from a really good position, but as one of the critical operating components within DHS, we need to really lean into our leadership role as it pertains to cyber protection, cybersecurity in the MTS.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of excitement in the segments of the workforce that enjoy doing that cyber work, and I think there's a potential to attract people to the Coast Guard who like to do that kind of work, and that's going to be a
actually,
good
let
thing.
me touch a little bit more. You're talking about the just sort of the workforce element in cyber, right? We've made a lot of progress with regard to our cyber warriors. We've stood up several CPTs. We've got this CMT that started. I guess we're in IOC with them right now, but a lot of opportunity for folks that see themselves working in the cyber realm. We're working towards what a workforce pyramid would look like with a cyber rating. We've got the first set of cyber graduates graduating from the Coast Guard Academy here in 2022, and we're having some good, robust discussions about how do we get that workforce, into the mix and supported, and ensuring that we're, meeting our leadership requirements in the cyber realm. It's it wasn't that long ago people are like, cyber, what is that, right? And now it's the reality is it's in everything we do and touch, and we need to look at it that way.
I agree. It's across all the work that we do. Cyber's involved, and making sure that our folks are going from that apprentice journeyman to master level skill sets. And I know there's a lot of people that love doing that work, so that's neat. As we look at our relationship with the Department of Defense, I just left the National Defense University this morning, meeting with our joint force counterparts, and they're really looking to the Coast Guard to help in that level below conflict where we work with the other nations. Do you see us, what as the former PAC area commander and now the vice commandant of the Coast Guard, how do you see our role, working with the Department of Defense in the future? Do you think we'll have about the same? It might grow. How does that look?
Yeah, so I'll go back, I don't know, 10 years or so when I was a mid-grade captain, and I was working for Admiral Allen, who was then the commandant, and he had started to pivot the organization towards greater DoD alignment. And when I first got in the front office, I was like, why are we doing this? I don't understand this. I look at today, I can't imagine not having done that pivot. Our value proposition to the Department of Defense has only grown. Their understanding of our unique roles and authorities has only grown. The challenge is, right, sometimes it feels like being hugged by a bear with those guys, because they'll take everything you offer and then they want 10 times that amount.
Yeah.
But it is important we are a military service. In addition to being a law enforcement agency, we are a military service, and we need to be aligned and relevant to our Department of Defense partners. But what's equally interesting to me, right, so we play a role then, an interlocutor role with our own department, the Department of Homeland Security, who look over at the DOD guys across the river, and sometimes it's a head-scratching for them. And so we help bridge that gap in ways that I think are particularly important. And I don't see any of that going away, because as a nation, as we look at the risk that comes at us, whether it's in the maritime vector or elsewhere, our ability to bring the interagency together in a unity of effort approach is that's our competitive advantage, and we need to work in the good times and the sunny days to make sure we've got those relationships in place, so that should we be pressed in upon, we've got those relationships and understanding of authorities.
Oh yeah. So Admiral, kind of pivoting, DoD is investing a lot in technology. And I know the Coast Guard's also trying to invest in our technology and mobility. And I know we're recruiting hard, but one of the things we can do is, if we can put more technology in our folks' hands, maybe we can make our folks a little bit more efficient and make them a little faster at what they do. What do you see the future of the tech revolution as we move forward, and maybe the C5I community in general?
Yeah, thanks, Master Chief. So technology is with us. It is here to stay. To be a modern, state-of-the-art Coast Guard, we need to be fielding that technology to our workforce. But it isn't just about like that glitzy new iPhone, or pick a specific piece of technology. The technology enables and creates decision space and information flow that's critical as we operate and engage worldwide. I'm really excited about the journey that we've been on with regard to technology over the last 5 years or so. We've just gone to DoD 365, although it does keep bouncing me out of my iPad. That's not an us issue; it's a DoD issue. But it just these we're more secure in the systems that we're using. Our data is more secure. We've increased bandwidth. We're working to ensure that when a piece of information or data is created at a front line or back in the command center, that we've got an ability to move it. And then more importantly, and where we're increasingly focusing, and I think this is it's a natural evolution in technology, and so this is on one analysis. So a piece of information, a data piece, the ones and the zeros, it's interesting, but it's not useful unless you've got the analysis for it, and then that it's provided to the decision maker, the operator, in a time frame that's relevant to whatever that decision is. So sometimes things move fast. You're in the Eastern Pacific and you're chasing to go fast, right? Quick. Other times you've got more time to consider it. So there is a group here at headquarters looking at data, and this is our data readiness task force. We talk about being a data-driven organization, but we've still got some governance and pivot to do. We have more data than we know what to do with. We're not leveraging it. We need to change it so that it goes from just being data to information to knowledge, and then that needs to begin to provide sort of the evidence base for us as we make decisions. We talk about being an intel-driven organization. This is also about an evidence-based organization with regard to risk, how we resource to risk, and how we understand that. So it's the device needs to be a piece in a broader technological and data strategy that it's just going to be essential as we move into the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I know that people don't mind doing the data entry if they know that it's going to go to something to help make their life better. It's when you think you're doing data entry for data entry's sake that's just when it gets a little monotonous.
As a Marine inspector, I can't tell you how many hours I lost to doing first it was in the old little books, and then you'd come in and you do the missile entry. But we don't have a system that goes back and either keyword searches or analyze so that what the risk profile of that foreign vessel is as it comes in, and exactly where you need to look for it. So that information or that data is out there. We need to do a much better job at mining it and analyzing it and then using it for decisions.
Yeah, I am. We have the personnel readiness task force, and now we have the data readiness task force. I couldn't tell you those two entities, group of people, very critically important to the quality of life and making the Coast Guard a better place. So, speaking of people that are committed to making the Coast Guard the best possible place to live and work, we talk about the workforce, and we always talk about putting people first, and I know that people are the first and foremost on your mind. You're constantly looking at ways to improve the quality of life for our folks. You've committed to and put money to, which is that's really shows your commitment to improving the fitness, the health, the well-being, the mental health, and just taking care of the workforce, kind of from a recruit, train, operate, and then as people transition. So I know you're fully committed to that. What do you see the future? We have a few initiatives going. Is there anything that you feel that you want to talk about in particular with the workforce, with health and well-being of the workforce?
Yeah, so before I a couple of things that ongoing initiatives I think will be of interest to the listeners, but before that, I want to say thank you. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, for you who are standing in the front lines, for your families and all those that enable you to do that, thank you. It has not been an easy journey the past couple of years. I got one COVID plug here. If you're not boosted, get your booster. It's important. As I've talked to people, my daughter being one who had a close call with some friends with COVID positives, the people that were 2 weeks post booster did not end up testing positive. It's a critical piece of PPE, and I encourage you to take advantage of that. But it has been a hard couple of years. There's been a lot of uncertainty. There's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of ambiguous and shifting information, and I know that has taken a toll on your families, toll on mental health. I suspect we've got people then that are engaging in behaviors that are not as healthy as perhaps they had prior to the pandemic kicking off. So I also want to lead with, we've got a lot of resources out there for people to take advantage of. We've been fielding, healthcare workers to improve, people's access to mental health professionals. We've got, there are resources that you can call and engage, and I encourage you to do that, right? You should not feel alone or unsupported, because we need you. We want you. We need you, ready and engaged, and helping us to lead and operate the world's best Coast Guard. I do want to put a plug in for both assist training and Safe Talk. The chaplains run those programs. I've challenged Chaplain Walcott here in the headquarters building to get some courses running. I told him I committed to helping fill every one of those seats. They're incredible courses. The people that take the courses just say they feel really empowered and able to help somebody who may be in mental crisis. Each and every one of you is important. We want each and every one of you, and you also have a role in helping your shipmates make sure that they've got the support that they need. Let me stop there. See if you got anything else. I got a couple other things, but yeah.
Couple things on the booster. I totally agree. I got my booster. I want to throw a shout out to Sector Los Angeles Long Beach. They kind of fit me in last second when I was out there doing a unit visit, and I got my booster shot. It was great. I didn't have any side effects at all. Didn't do anything to me, and I've successfully avoided, I believe, getting COVID thanks to the vaccination and the booster. So thanks to Sector LALB. And I also wanted to foot stomp a little bit on the assistance in Safe Talk. It's critical. I think as unfortunately you and I get the details of a lot of the times when we didn't know something was going on and things went bad, and almost 100% of the time, I think if there was a little bit better awareness of somebody's challenges, that we might have been able to prevent that. So I appreciate that, and all the chaplains out there and our AUX chaplains, thank you for all the help they're giving us. And then we need to come out of this pandemic stronger. We need to be strong, and we need to make sure that we're not developing bad habits while we're, I don't know, quarantining, sequestering ourselves, doing whatever, practicing social distancing, all that kind of stuff. But, fitness is, I know for you personally, I'm looking at you and I can see the guns on you. You're definitely committed to fitness and, a healthy lifestyle. So if you have some ideas or some suggestions for folks, you seem to be embracing that good fitness, and I love it. So talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on personal fitness.
Yeah. So I had a millennial in my life that basically said, you need to do a reset. So for me, one of the positives of COVID was I did do that reset. Right, got me rebalanced. It's easy, particularly as a senior flag officer, to let work in the professional side of things consume 98% of your bandwidth, and that is not sustainable and it is not healthy. So, at the beginning of COVID, I actually gave myself permission, one, to commit to, exercising at least an hour every day. I found an app that I really like. Actually, I started by doing 100 burpees a day. That hurts. It doesn't matter how fit you are, 100 burpees hurt. Then I found an app that my daughter was using that I've pretty much used every day for the last 2 years, and it has been pretty transformational. What I would say to anybody, right, so there's a little bit of a tendency to say, oh, I'll start that tomorrow. Today is the day to start. And even if it's just getting up off your couch and going for a 15-minute walk, right, that's a start. I also learned as part of the, kind of lead into the pandemic, and of course being in San Francisco, we were some of the first ones to go into lockdown. I learned how important it is for me to spend time outdoors every day. There's some days I don't get that much time, but spending some time outdoors in the fresh air is really important for me to stay balanced. I just share that. That's my personal journey. Everybody's got their own ways of resetting and staying balanced and staying fit, but it's never too late to start. Today's the day to do that, and there's a concept of kind of present self and future self, and your present self doesn't always have your future self in mind, but I'm telling you, your present self needs to have your future self in mind, which means, spend a little bit of time exercising, make sure you're eating right. And then sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. We tend to, in this country, if you're not moving and doing, then we tend to view it as a sign of weakness, and, I'd encourage you to prioritize your sleep as well. It's probably the best thing that you can do for your own mental and physical health. And there's lots out there on what works for people. I just encourage you to prioritize it and commit to it. And then I don't know, maybe when we're done here, I'll see if the Master Chief. I'm going to challenge him to a burpee contest and see how long
no! I give up. You win. No, I fully subscribe to that. In order to continue to do your job well, you have to take care of yourself. Being and I love what you said there in terms of you need to think ahead. As a guy who's going into retirement here in a few months, I'd like to live a long time and collect a lot of retirement checks.
It costs the Coast Guard a lot of money in retirement. You got to live a long time to do that.
That's my goal. So I think trying to get some exercise, trying to stay fit, and then and if you're having trouble doing it on your own. You said your daughter helped you. I know you have some other folks that you exercise with you and help keep you motivated. Having a team or having a couple people around you, to push you to kind of, when you don't feel like it, they make you feel like it. That type of thing. I think that's important too. Having a good shipmate out there is critical. So, Admiral, I think we're in a good spot, despite the challenges of COVID and despite the frustration that we've had about not being able to get, execute the training and the orders, and we've had to make some tough decisions and all that kind of stuff. I think we're in a good spot. I know that congressionally, we if everything, we're waiting on this continuing resolution. Hopefully we don't have another continuing resolution. Hopefully we have a budget. But we're looking pretty good. I mean, I would tell you that not just the American people appreciate where the Coast Guard is, but we've had good success talking to our elected leaders. I know you spend a lot of time with our elected leaders expressing the needs for our readiness hole and our infrastructure. And can you talk about what you're seeing for the future in terms of us having the money, just the money to get after some of these challenges?
Yeah, so, the readiness narrative that, the current commandant has really, put us on a path with, it is clearly resonating and then is translating in, money resourcing. We, as an organization, we enjoy wide bipartisan support. Many agencies cannot say that, and we can, and that gets reflected back to us in resourcing and resourcing support. And I should add that the current leadership in the Department of Homeland Security, both the Secretary and Deputy Secretary, I have never seen two people bigger fans and supporters of us as an agency. They lean on us all the time, like the Operation Allies Welcome. The department realized that they needed some leadership and support, and who did they lean on? They leaned on the Coast Guard, and that's a really positive thing. Every budget year is dynamic. Every year we have to make hard choices and decisions with regard to how we prioritize those resources. We're on, where we started this conversation, we're on the biggest acquisition way ahead since World War II as an organization. And so as we're fielding national security cutters, waterway commerce cutters, polar security cutters, offshore patrol cutter, lots and lots coming at us, and we are poised to execute and will. And I got to say, I'm nothing but optimistic about the future when I look at it. I mean, we'll go into the trenches on the budget conversations, but I see a lot of goodness out there coming at us. In fact, I worry sometimes. It's like, all right, do we actually have all of the capacity, right? The acquisition professionals and contracting professionals to make sure that we can execute on that money as it comes. But I got to tell any of the young members out there, right? There's nothing but goodness coming at us, and it is a really exciting time to be in the Coast Guard.
I tell you, the workforce is growing. We're not just growing our assets, but we're growing our maintainers, the folks that maintain those assets, the crews to run them. And I tell you, I wish I was kind of where my son is today, because I think there's a lot of really neat opportunities ahead. I agree with you. Secretary Mayorkas and Deputy Secretary Tien, two folks that just really appreciate what the Coast Guard does. Everybody that's ever gone TAD to support a DHS mission, just know that is so well appreciated by the department. It's not just the Coast Guard, Roger and up. We are one DHS. We are a team. We work together with all the components. And, I tell you, Admiral, I really appreciate your leadership, up there, advocating for the Coast Guard of the department, because the way the budget works is, the department puts the budget over, and they help us reinforce our requests. So, having that advocacy from the department is critical. And Admiral, I want to thank you for your help on that. The deck plate workforce really appreciates having the tools and the things that they need to get the work done. And then as we grow, what do you see, if you had to say, a couple things that the Coast Guard itself needs to be thinking about, say, in the next 5 years? I know, I'll just throw one thing out there. We got to get the people. We need the people, and then we've already talked about the asset, the surface assets, the aviation assets, and then the tools that we need to do our marine safety work. All that stuff. What do you see, like, in the next 5 years? What do you think the Coast Guard needs to kind of focus on?
Yeah. So
to be successful.
Well, we don't operate ships and aircraft and small boats without people. And the Coast Guard starts and stops with the quality and caliber of the workforce. And so, Admiral Schultz has taken us down a great path to begin addressing recruiting, retention, diversity and inclusion, equity. We need to continue to have a sense of urgency and drive forward on some of the progress we've made, because frankly we have not traveled far enough yet on that. the Coast Guard of the future really should reflect the public that we serve. So a talent management, workforce management system that is responsive to the current generations that we are recruiting into the service is critical. Our workforce system right now it's a post-World War II, sort of rooted structure that, assumed there was a single male breadwinner and, wife stayed home with 2 kids and there was no movement. That is not our workforce. We need to have a talent management system that is responsive to our workforce, that allows stability when people need stability, an acceleration forward if needed. There is work to be done there around challenging and changing some of our fundamental assumptions. For example, we're an up or out organization. This is really, really true on the officer side. It's somewhat true on the enlisted side. It's not quite as draconian a system, but that's the most expensive way to build workforce, is to basically at each promotion point we kick people out of the lifeboat. Well, it's like, why? So there's work to be done there. And then the other thing I'd add, we've been on a journey to knock down barriers, particularly barriers for minorities to successfully serve. And we've done that in several cases. Some of the tattoo policy changes are examples of that. I think there's more work still to do there to ensure that, I define a barrier as something that has no bearing on your ability to successfully serve and contribute to the organization. Like if you have a tattoo behind your ear, that has no bearing on your ability to honorably and successfully serve. That's a simple example. There's others, and we need to get after that.
And I applaud Coast Guard senior leadership for, asking the questions, doing the research, committing the money to find out what those barriers are. Because I can tell you, I don't know what they are. What was a barrier to somebody else may not have been a barrier to me. And so we have, senior leadership has really committed to understanding the workforce challenges. So everybody out there listening to the podcast, I can tell you that, hey, we care about what's on your mind. We want to know what you think. If you have a better idea, if you have ideas, we're always, please pass those up. We want everybody's input. We know it takes there's the best ideas come from the field, and we're excited about those. Well, Admiral, I'll see if you got anything else you want to wrap up with, but I can't thank you enough for you spending the time with us today to talk to the workforce, to kind of tell them what your vision is and what you see that the Coast Guard needs to be looking at in the next few years. And it's a very optimistic, very, very positive picture that we have going forward. And I'm confident that we're, like you said, we're on the path to get where we need to go and to serve our nation. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all joined to do, is to provide the best Coast Guard service to our nation. And I'm super thankful for your leadership.
Thanks, Master Chief. Really appreciate you inviting me to do this. It's been a great conversation. I am super excited about the future of the organization and the workforce. Back to those kids, right, that are in the service. Not just my daughter who's in, but to the entirety of the workforce. When I come to work every day, I ask myself, what have I done to make sure that you, particularly those of you at the front lines, have the resources you need, the tools you need, the policy, the training that you need to succeed. That's my commitment to you, and that you are in an environment where you feel safe and valued, and you have a voice and an ability to contribute. This is your Coast Guard, not my Coast Guard, not Master Chief Vanderhaden's Coast Guard, right? It is your Coast Guard. We each embody what it means to serve and create the culture of just this incredible world-class Coast Guard. I'm super excited about the future. I'm really proud of each and every one of you and what you do. It makes it really fun to come to work and help make sure that we're getting those resources to you so that you can continue to conduct frontline operations. But again, thanks, Master Chief Vanderhaden.
Thank you,
really
Admiral.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks to our guest host, Senior Chief Kelly. And today we're using Master Chief Mike Ellis's the Bosun Mate Rain Force Master Chief's podcast gear. Special shout out to Mike for providing the gear. All right.
Thanks.
Semper Paratus, everybody.